a lot of people have this misunderstanding about karma. They think that there's a lot that you set in place in your pre-birth plan. And it's like, if you hurt somebody in a past life, then you come and they agree to hurt you this time to make up for it. Well, when you think about that from the perspective of Creator, how much sense does that make? Why would Creator do that to us if he loves us? He, she, they love us so much. It makes absolutely no sense. It's an old paradigm, a misunderstanding. No, in fact, the way karma works is so brilliant on the part of Creator, because nobody is punishing us but ourselves. We get to make our choices, and then we get the consequences, good or bad, in our opinion. But we're the only ones judging whether it's good or bad. So, when the angels say, if you don't like the results, the karma, make a new choice, create new karma. It really is that kind of black and white simple. And you're creating new karma every day with your thoughts, your choices, your deeds, constantly. So it's like, let's be more conscious about what karma is and how it works, because then we can make it work to our advantage. So no soul is coming here planning for doing dark deeds to pay back somebody's karma. That's just not how it works. What we do is we attract to us people in situations that are a match for what we're putting out. So if we're putting out some kind of like victim energy, for instance, because that's a common one, then we're going to attract people in situations that give us the opportunity to experience victimization so that we can hopefully use our new empowered status and rise above it. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but it's all about learning and doing better. That's the whole point with the karma. All of the, from my perspective, at least, negative things that are going on in the US is having a ripple effect across the globe. It's making a lot of people very uneasy and unsure about their own futures. But for us as enlightened souls, awakened souls, however you want to label yourself, the whole thing is about just being more conscious, putting out that positive energy, and allowing for that to come back to us, because karma, right? What you put out comes back to you in equal or greater measure. So if you're putting out worry, fear, and doubt, you're going to get that back in equal or greater measure, right? Don't do that. Yeah, you can be scared of things and you can be worried about things, but don't stay in that energy. You need to step into your empowered soul self, find ways of rewriting the script, finding a way to be happy no matter what's going on around you. And it doesn't have to be, super high happy, but just a more balanced place so that you're not in that fear, doubt, and worry. And then as you raise that energy vibration of being happy, being balanced, being centered, confident, knowing that everything is really going to work out for you at some point in time, better and better, right? As long as you work on that and you keep that as your focus, then you're going to attract that no matter what's going on in the world. And if you think back to Elie Wiesel, that's how he survived those concentration camps. And, I'm sure it was a really difficult thing for him in that situation to find things to be positive about. But if he could do it in those circumstances, we could certainly do it in these. So I was having that conversation with this group of people and trying to explain to them about karma. It's hard to explain. It's, it can be very simple, but it can also be very complex. So just boiling it down to the simplest is, what you put out, you get back in equal or greater measure. So if you don't like what you're getting, put something different out there. But, they had this misunderstanding about incarnating into a family and how it's a good thing that this person agreed to victimize you so that, they could make up for what they did. And that is so twisted when you think about that. Why would any soul put it in their pre-birth plan that they're going to come here and victimize somebody else? That's a negative energy. I don't care if the other person victimized you first, but if you give back victimization, you are going to attract victimization in equal or greater measure. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs thinking. That's just not how it works. So if we can get people to understand how karma really works, thinking about what you put out, you're going to get back. So put out what you want to get back. And it goes back to the golden rule, doesn't it? Right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's all connected. And I was just, as I thought about it and was trying to explain it in a way they could understand, I was again amazed at the brilliance of Creator with coming up with this system, because this means nobody over there needs to judge us. We're doing it to ourselves. So when we get back into soul, we leave these bodies, then we get to review all the choices we made, all the karma that we piled up, and decide, was it good or was it bad? They're not saying it's good or bad. They're just saying it is. This is where you're at. What are you going to do about it? So all of that judginess that we were worried about, hell does not exist. That's just not a thing. We're doing it to ourselves with karma. And, judging ourselves doesn't get us anywhere either. We can acknowledge that maybe it's not what we wanted it to be, and then use that input to make a different, better choice. Because judging ourselves doesn't help either. Judgment is just not a good thing. And so with these people I was talking with, they got into this whole mode of, well, it's neither good or bad, because that's not how it's considered. Well, yeah, that is true from the perspective of divine. But from our perspective, it is good or bad. If we don't like the consequences, it was bad, right? And I think some people get a little too caught up in not wanting to label things good or bad. But in that respect, you have to have some way to distinguish. Are you happy with the results? Then it was good. You're not happy with the results? It was bad. That's simple. But it doesn't change the laws of karma. Linda, how does that work for children who are victims of abuse? Are they attracting that energy without knowing? Yes and no. So we incarnate into a situation that is a match for our energetic vibration and for our plans. So let's say you have a child who has had a past life, or 2 or 3 or 4, where they were very much victimized. This lifetime, they've decided, I'm going to just conquer this victimization thing. So I'm going to incarnate into this family of people who I can see from my present perspective are probably going to set me up for abuse. I'm going to incarnate there deliberately so I get to experience the abuse and find my way out and through. So it's like incarnating into a deep, dark forest and having to find your way out, right? So in that respect, yeah, the soul chose it. They didn't choose, necessarily the exact thing that would happen to them, because we can't know that. We only know that it's an energetic match for what we're trying to work on. The thing about that, Linda, some people will hear that and they will come away with the idea that, oh, you're blaming the victim. It's not about blaming the victim. That's a very limited mindset, and it really robs you of the ability to get the whole lesson. No, it's like, as I said, the soul finds a situation that is an energetic match where they are likely to face the challenges that they want to conquer. So in that case, that's empowered. They were empowered to choose that situation. Now, of course, once we get here, we don't remember any of that stuff, which is what makes it really hard. So then it's a matter of, hopefully as quickly as possible, reconnecting with your divine team so they can help you through it. For me, I went into a situation like that because I was murdered in my most recent life by an abusive husband. So I had a lot of victimization to overcome, and wasn't easy. And then I didn't remember it for many years, but when I was little, I had conversations with Jesus. So he was there for me, supporting me through that early victimization. And then, of course, life comes in and those kind of things fade away and we forget, unfortunately, and took many years before it came back. But that was there for me in the beginning to help me get a solid foundation. And now, as more souls are being born and staying more connected to who they are as a soul, that's getting easier. So, and they're also being born at a higher vibrational frequency, which allows them to have that awareness. So there's a lot of factors at play here. It's not simple black and white by any means. So if any of that doesn't make sense, please ask and I will do my best to clarify. If you're new to my community, you wouldn't have heard this story before. And those of you who have heard it before, just bear with me. So the guy who killed me in my past life, I I ended up marrying in this life. Magnets attracting us, right? So we had to come together to resolve that karma that we had. And it was that karma that magnetized us. So we come together and it was good for a while, but then he became abusive. And I stuck it out for a while, but when he started to turn it on the kids, that was it for me. And I got out and then went on to make a good life, to be empowered, because I was very disempowered early on in my life. So I was able to work through all of that. So I really have a deep understanding of that situation. And it's worth all of the effort that you have to put in to escape it. Had I been more a conscious person when I met this guy, something might have repelled me rather than attracted me. And I wouldn't have had to have gone through all that. But that's the way it was. And I learned from it. And it has made a huge difference. When you think about it from the big picture perspective, it's so simple. And yet for us, it's so hard because we complicate things. So for all of us, as much as possible, if we can, go through the weeds to see the crux of the matter and how simple it is about just making a new choice. There's an Abraham story I'll share with you in case you haven't heard it. And this is Abraham telling on Esther. So Esther and Jerry are going out for lunch at a nice restaurant with friends. Got a new car. Esther just loves this new car. I think it was a Cadillac. And along the way, they passed this intersection, and there was somebody who did some kind of a dangerous maneuver and almost got into an accident. And Esther, in her mind, saw that and made a judgment about bad drivers and accidents. While they were in the restaurant, somebody crashed into their Cadillac. Now, you might think, if you're not spiritually connected, oh, that was just an accident. But no, what Abraham explained to Esther is that she is at a higher elevated vibrational frequency, which means, when you're at a lower frequency, you can drive your car down the road and you can go all over like this without a whole lot of consequences. But as you go up the vibrational scale, you got to now stay in those tight little lines. If you go out just a little bit, there's a consequence. It's like a boomerang effect, right? So that little thought judgment from her created the karma that boomeranged back, and her car got crashed. Took her a while to work through all that, but wow, what a powerful lesson. So for all of us, what we can learn from Esther's example is, now that she understands that, the moment she notices she has the negative thought, she can then fix it by saying, oh, excuse me, I take it back, and then think a good thought. And very often you can stop that negative karma arrow that was going to come back at you. Oh, Cher, yeah. For the first almost 50 years of my life, I was very, very unconscious, afraid of my shadow. It's this work and Metatron's support that made all the difference for me, because that person I was, I don't even recognize anymore. It was so different. So Metatron has helped me with this big transformation, which has set me up to be here to share with you at this time when things are pretty darn scary out there. And I am constantly astonished at not being afraid, because I was always afraid before. And yet here we are in something that could be really, really scary. And it's like, angels have got me. Nothing to be afraid of. And I want you guys to really get to the place where you embody that. Because the more light workers who get that message, stop having the fear. Stop thinking about what could happen, because you're inviting it, right? Focus on the positive, on your beautiful, bright future, because you are going to be okay no matter what is going on around you in the world. You will make that reality. It will be okay. Probably will be different than what you thought it was going to be. But with your angels at your side, there's nothing to be afraid of. That's what we're all moving into. Cher, for you, the first step is difficult. Yeah, it is. Right after the election, it caused me some baubles. It took, a day and a half, maybe 2 days to process through all of that. But when you understand that you can undo the negative karma by putting the positive out there, making new, better choices faster, helping other people to do the same, and you're motivated because you don't want that negative karma coming back on you. So that helps a lot. And baby steps, you're right. Just when you know it's there, you take the positive action to make the adjustments, the corrections. And that's all we're doing. And it's so simple when you get down to that basic level. Just try not to complicate it, and then you'll be able to make progress faster. Which we all are, you know. We felt the acceleration, and our vibrational frequency is accelerating tremendously. I see that when I do soul introductions because I'm measuring that number. We've talked about that before. And I'm seeing the numbers that are just shooting up, where in past lifetimes, they go up by a tenth at a time. Past lifetimes, they might have only gone up 1 or 2 tenths in a whole lifetime. Sometimes nothing. This lifetime, I'm seeing people coming in for readings where they have gone up, 5, 6, 7 points, and they're still here. That tells you how fast things are going. It's tremendous. And it just becomes part of who you are. It's habitual then, and so easy and in the flow, which is where you want to be. So as soon as you notice that negative thought, you just cancel, delete, whatever you want to say, replace it with something positive. It will change your life in wonderful ways. Yeah, you're right, Cher. The blessings show up quickly. And that's all about manifesting, right? Because it goes hand in hand with manifesting. What you're putting out, positive, and coming back to you, equal or greater measure. Since I found this work, it's like, this is what I was meant to do. I didn't know that until I was in my 50s, but just so grateful that I found it, because I can't think of a single thing that would be more soul satisfying than this work. To be here to help other people to find their way. That's just everything. And then we all are going to spread that out to one another until it goes into that sonic boom across the globe, and then everything changes. It's the peace that passes understanding, which is, when you think about it, it's like, didn't understand what that meant when you read it, maybe. And now that you feel it, it's still kind of hard to understand, but who cares? Just go with the flow. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's Sandra walking through the fear. It's like walking through the fire. Very similar. It just can't touch you because you've got your angel team with you who are going to put a protective shield or lift you up or blow out the fire or whatever it is that they're going to do to help you. And it can be different in different situations. Yeah, this has become my life's mission, Cher. I never knew it was going to be. That's just what it turned out to be. But it's so soul satisfying. I know this is why I'm here now. But I didn't know that until, just a few short years ago. So for all of us, it's like when we get to that place in our journey where we find that thing that feeds our soul, you go at it full bore, no holding back. That's the time you really lean into your purpose. Live it fully and joyfully, with gusto and exuberance, as the angels keep saying. And I think for people who don't really understand karma, if you can explain it to them like that it's this boomerang that, here you are, you toss out that boomerang of whatever it is you're putting out into the world, and it's going to come back around to you. Might pick up some extra things along the way and be even heftier than when you threw it out there. So you want to be sure that what you threw out there was a good thing so that it comes back even better than what you sent out. Because, God forbid it comes back negative, right? Could knock you right off your feet.